though before you like go ahead and report me to the FBI or throw me in game dev prison. Despite what the thumbnail says, I'm not actually telling you to just blatantly steal pixel art. At least not in the way that you probably think that I mean. I'm actually referring to something called pixel bashing. Basically, in a nutshell, pixel bashing is the idea of taking pre-existing pixel art, removing certain pieces, kind of cutting it up, dicing it, remixing it, and making something new from it. The term pixel bashing actually comes from kit bashing, which is a model making term, where model makers would take like pre-existing kits or other models, snip off bits and pieces and put them together to create something new. If you want to learn more about that and sort of the history of that, I would actually recommend checking out this video from Adam Savage. Go ahead and like check the card or whatever. It'll be down in the description. Just watch that after this one. So yeah, it's basically just kind of a way to dip your toe into pixel art if you're not very good at it, which, let's be honest, if you're watching this video, you're probably not. I guess it would be easier for you guys to just sort of see what I'm talking about. So let's get over to my computer and take a look. Okay, well, here we are in my Pixel Playground file in Adobe Photoshop. I use Photoshop for this just because it is what I know. You don't have to run out and get the Adobe Creative Suite just to use Photoshop and, to do all this. You could use any image editing software out there is going to be capable of doing this. It's just how it does it might be slightly different. I've used in the past GIMP. I've used a Sprite. And in fact, when I'm making anything pixel related from scratch, I use a Sprite. But within Photoshop, for me, pixel bashing, just the tool sets and the workflow just makes sense in my head. And it's kind of just what I'm used to. So that's what I'm going to use. Again, this is just kind of a generalized tutorial, so feel free to follow along on whatever software you're using. And yeah, we'll get into it. We are going to be creating tiles for this. If you wanted to see something like more organic, like a character or, something of that nature, maybe I'll make another video in the future, but honestly, a lot of these skills can transfer over. It's not like, a very specific thing that only works with this one thing. You can use it for any type of pixel related graphics. And again, I'm using a capsule capturing monster game tile set because I am making a fan game. I'm going to try to be very general about this. In fact, just for ease of use, we are going to be diving in and using parts from some of those famous games, which actually leads me into something that we should probably talk about before we get too in-depth into this. And that is just, quite frankly, the legality and the ethics of all of this. Here's the thing. Pixel bashing very much exists in sort of a legal and ethical gray area. It still is technically stealing. However, there are a few ways that you can protect yourself. First and foremost, you should absolutely only ever use parts from publicly available pixel art or pixel art that you specifically paid for the license to use. And even then, if you have licensed the pixel art, make sure that your license allows you to remix and reuse parts. Don't just go and grab some random tile set from itch.io or DeviantArt and just start willy-nilly snipping parts off and putting them together. Because that's still artwork that someone else made. And so you're kind of just, reusing their already created art. It's not cool. And when in doubt, just ask the artist. A lot of times when pixel art is released publicly, they're usually pretty cool with you remixing their stuff. Just, ask. Of course, we should probably get to the elephant in the room that comes with this particular video, which is using pixel art by a major corporation. Usually something ripped from a pre-existing game. This is absolutely not okay and definitely something that you are probably going to get hit with a cease and desist over. That being said, it's kind of accepted in most of the fan game circles that you're gonna do this kind of thing. And I mean, you're making a fan game to begin with, so you're already kind of in not a great place legally. So it's kind of unofficially considered okay, but still, just be mindful that it might get you into some trouble. I'm not a lawyer. This isn't legal advice. Just do whatever you want, but just know that I've warned you. So basically don't sue me if you get sued by Big Red. Also, regardless of where you get your art, you should absolutely credit whoever you got it from. Whether it's from a major corporation or an independent artist, you should still provide credit, even if you only used like a single teeny tiny little pixel from their piece. You still use something from their piece. So, you know, credit where credit's due, don't steal, and be careful of giant mega corporations. Cool? Cool. All right, let's get back over to the computer. Let's make just a building. We're just going to make a standard building, nothing super flashy, just to show you the process. So the very first thing I do is I dive into my sort of source graphics, or I look at other tiles, I look at other pixel art, stuff that I'm going to be using for the pixel bashing, and I look for inspiration. I look for ideas. I look for a piece that stands out to me as something that maybe I might be able to make something from that. A lot of times for me, when I'm working with buildings, the first thing that I look for, and this is mostly just because of the angle that we view things in this specific style of game, it's an overhead sort of style. The first thing that I look at is the roof. And the roof usually tends to be the most immediately noticeable part of whatever, you know, building tile or whatever that you are looking at. If we look in here at the FRLG tiles, that's how I'll refer to it. It's, you know, it's, you recognize a lot of these buildings, and I'll tell you that you're probably immediately seeing the roofs. That is the thing that is standing out to you. And then your mind is filling in your memory of the rest of the graphics. The same with this RSE tile set. So for me, the thing that is immediately jumping out at me, I don't know how well it's going to work, but this like flower garden here, I think I could turn into an interesting looking roof. So I'm going to grab this and we're going to bring it in. Now you're looking at that and you're like, it's a flower garden. How are you going to make that into a roof? That's the thing about pixel bashing, baby. Is this all about taking things that are one thing and turning them into something entirely different. It's part of the process. I don't know why I called you baby there, but I'm here for it. So we paste that in. Now you'll notice this looks really small, and that's because within this tile set, I'm working with a 32 by 32 tile size. That's going to depend upon what your engine is, what your specific software is, or what you just choose to make your tiles sized as. This is for RPG Maker XP, which again is 32 by 32, but everyone sort of varies. I mean, heck, even within the RPG Maker series itself, the tile size changes within MZ and MV, and I think VXAce. Don't quote me on that last one. It's 48 by 48 is the tile size. So I'm using a 32 by 32 grid here, but this source file is 16 by 16. So I need to scale it up. Luckily within Photoshop and a lot of other image editing software, this is super easy just by selecting, and we are going to be setting the interpolation to nearest neighbor. Within pixel art, this is just the cleanest way when you're scaling up. Otherwise, you get some anti-aliasing and it gets really fuzzy and it just doesn't work as well. Nearest neighbor is the best way to go. And we're just going to scale it up 2 times because 16 by 16 times 2 is 32 by 32. So that brings us into this size. So now we have this graphic here, and it's just a bigger flower bed. But what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to remove parts of it that we don't want or need. That is a big thing for this, and that is kind of your bread and butter with pixel bashing, is removing the stuff that you don't and adding in new stuff where you want it. So we're going to go through, we're going to remove like some of the stuff, like some of the background, sort of the ground there. We're going to remove the flower bed because I'm going to be putting a texture there on what will become the roof of the building. So let's go ahead and let's do that. I'm just going to kind of time lapse through it. Okay, so that is, I'm actually going to put the shadow parts back in there. That's, you know, basically all that I want from this. We're going to go in now and we're going to look for a texture that I can put underneath that. I really like vertical lines or, ooh, you know, honestly, those sort of lines look pretty good. I like this roof texture that we got with the ridges. Let's grab that part and let's put it in there. Now we're going to put it under this tile, under the part that we have. And then we're just going to go ahead and just like before, we're going to remove parts that we don't need. We don't have to worry about removing so much. How's that look? I think color might be messing with my brain about whether I like that or not. Let's try. You know what? I dig it. That's what I'm going to go with. There we go. We've got something looking nice. Now let's go ahead and we're actually going to merge these layers together. Merge layers. And what I'm going to do is we are now going to extend this because this building isn't going to be perfectly a 3x3 square. And we are just going to extend this roof out. This also just gives us more room to play around. And luckily enough, it is very easy to do that. Merge all the layers. Bammy wham. There we go. Now we have to worry about walls. What are we going to do with walls? What is the plan with walls? Let's take a look in here. So we want something that has, to match with that roof, we want something that has slanted walls. Where'd my mouse go? Slanted walls like that. Now, obviously, we could grab these Focus Center walls, which honestly, I don't hate. Let's look at what FRLG has in store for us. Once you hit fences, you've gone too high. Yeah, we got something very similar down here that I don't hate. We have, that's an extreme curve. We have the centers and the marts that have something very similar. This building has an interesting divots. I want to play with something like that. Let's grab this tile. Let's go over here. Gotta say, don't hate it. One thing I'm going to do to make this a little bit better, and I can do this pretty easily, is I'm going to grab our roof here, and I'm just gonna make sure that it butts up against that edge there. And then merge the layers. So now yeah. Let's grab the other side. This side. And let's do the same thing. So far, so good. Liking it. Liking what I'm seeing. This is very much like, it feels very much like a store or something. Now, I don't like the details of this, but let's go ahead and let's just grab everything here so far, and we can swap some parts out. Just so that we get, does not, you know what? We can make this work. Okay, so this is sort of the beginning of what we got going on here with our building. So what we're going to do is, I do not like basically anything through there. So hold up. Merge your layers, folks, just to make sure, and label them. So this is roof. This is walls. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to remove that part from the walls. I don't like very much to do with this door at all. So I'm just going to remove that. And I will say right out the gate, just based off the style of my tiles, I would probably remove this shadow. Like, it's just way too harsh, but it's fine for now. Let's go ahead and let's see what other like wall textures. Now, we aren't worrying about color. We aren't worrying about anything like that. We are just purely worrying about like the texture right now, because coloring comes later. So let's look at walls or something that we think that we could make into a wall texture. What about, I mean, this sort of like walkway could work. We could turn that into a wall. That could become a wall. This I don't hate. It's a little too overly detailed, I think, but it's working. There's always that. That's pretty classic. What about in here? What can we look at? We have the brick. Let's see how the brick looks. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say no. I'm almost tempted to just want something relatively plain. Like, let's go over here. Let's look at other stuff that I've done. We've got like walls like this. This is a very, very plain wall. This is also very, very plain walls. Maybe this is sort of what we want, what the vibe we want is. So how about we just straight up steal this wall? Because we can do that. The key with pixel bashing, and the thing to remember, is you can do whatever you want to do. It is entirely up to you. Yeah. Again, ignore the colors for now. Just, I'm going to grab this because we don't need the side shadow. Although, honestly, looking at this, we could probably, bear with me here, because again, this is what pixel bashing is. It's a lot of experimenting. We could probably remove that. I don't know why this particular tile is doubled up on like shadows. It makes no sense to me. Zoom out, take a look. Yeah, starting to look not bad. Now I do want a doorway. Maybe something like this, so that's a little much. Actually, you know what? Let's use it. Let's grab it. Let's snag it. We can make this work. We can definitely make this work. All right. First thing we're going to do is, say it with me now, remove the parts we don't want. This needs to almost be like, it needs to be extended. It needs to be longer. Get what I'm saying? First of all, I'm also going to line this up. So doors, I always make sure are a tile in of themselves. Just makes sense. Honestly, I think that's good. I think the positioning there is super solid. I like what we have so far. It needs some windows. It needs some other accoutrement, something to make it a little bit fancier. It needs some further texturing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to merge those walls together. And I'm going to add in a drop shadow here. A lot of pixel art, whether it be pixel bashing or, working with scratch pixel art, whatever it is, a lot of it is just refining a style, working within the confines of what the specific type of tiles that you're making call for. So things like drop shadow is a stylistic thing that has been pre-established throughout other parts of this piece. So I want to make sure that it is uniform. So it all feels cohesive. Another thing is just making sure that, you're playing with light in different ways to give dimensionality to the piece. It's something that you'll develop an eye for as you spend more time not only making pixel art, but just be looking at pixel art and really like sit there and study it and really analyze it and really dig into it. You'll start to notice things. Okay, this is honestly not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to combine these three together. No, I'm not. I was just about to say I was going to combine them together. I ain't doing that yet. Bear with me. Okay. Now, one thing, as I said, with consistency is that we need shadow along this side. A lot of pixel bashing is refining and playing and experimenting and seeing what looks right in the moment. It's not always going to look perfect, pristine, exactly the way that you want. You just got to play with it, and eventually you'll get there. Let's put some windows. Let's grab windows from buildings that we've already done before, like this window. All right. That looks pretty good. Pretty solid. I'm liking what we got so far. Maybe we bring the windows down. Better. There we go. Okay, so we have the makings of a building. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to remove that really intense shadow because it's bothering me because this doesn't have a shadow and that this part does. So we're going to remove that. Again, it's a style thing. So now we get into the fun bit and probably the most like tedious bit, which is doing all the coloring. And the way that we do that is we actually start taking this thing apart piece by piece, layer by layer, until we have like the individual parts that we're going to be recoloring sort of isolated on their own layers. And so what I'll do is I will rename this one base. So that is our base piece, and I will duplicate it, and this will be outline. Then we're going to duplicate another one, and this is going to be roof. And then we're going to duplicate another one, and this is going to be walls. And those are like the primary pieces that you will use to get the coloration that you want. I'm also going to do one more because we do have like, this is such a darker shade than this. I'm going to do, we're going to call this border. And actually that one will probably be the one that we do first because that is actually going to be something that we are going to do in a much different way than we would otherwise. So this one is going to be manually coloring, which we're about to see. So if you notice, we have like a few different shades of this dark gray, and then we have a few shades of the light gray. We want these things to be uniform. We want them to share similar colors. Now, the question is, do we want to lighten up this or do we want to darken this? I'm going to say we're going to actually lighten up this. So the first thing we do is we figure out which color is our mid color, which is this one, I think. For this one, we might actually take contiguous off. Okay. So now all pieces that are that color, we are going to fill. Let's actually, because these are exact, we won't be able to see our changes if we don't. Let's go ahead and fill with our color, and let's find the mid color, which I believe is actually that one. And let's just go ahead and start doing this. And we're just going to go through and we're just going to color. That's looking pretty good. Border is secured. But now let's go ahead. We're putting those back on. Now we are going to do the outline. So with the outline, turn off all of the other layers, and anything that isn't the outline of the shapes, we're going to go ahead and delete. So one thing that I would say as far as like when you're doing this editing is I wouldn't worry too much about doors, because doors are often replaced by just a black tile and then an animated graphic over top of it, at least within this specific thing. Doors usually tend to be an animated graphic that is separate from your tile set. So I just wouldn't spend too much time working on your doors, because I don't think you have to worry about it. Anyways, now that we have this we're going to do an adjustment layer, because this is how I like to do things. And we're going to colorize. We're going to drag that saturation down because I want it to be dark. And we are going to do a minus 15, bammy wham, merge layers. Now let's take a look at it all together. Whew, that looks almost uniform. Actually, you know what? We're gonna take it back, and we're going to just drag it down. We're gonna do No, we're not. We aren't going to go quite like that. We're going to go darker, but not that dark. Because we do still want to maintain some separation of colors. Okay, now let's see how it looks. Decent. Don't hate it. Now we're going to turn that off and we're going to take a look at the roof. Now we're going to delete everything that isn't going to be the changed roof color. Note that we do not have to worry about we don't really have to worry about the outline because the outline will be covered. Okay, so now we have the roof colors. We have the roof colors isolated. Now we're going to go in here, another adjustment layer. We're going to hit colorize. Now, a lot of times you need to be sticking to a palette within pixel art. And this is where I would say using adjustment layers isn't necessarily the best way to do this. Do as I say, not as I do. This is just the way that I do coloring because for my particular project, I don't have as much of a rigid palette and I'm playing a lot of it by eye, which is not normally the right way to do things, but it's what you got. So we're going to go through here. We're going to find a shade that I like. Maybe I like that purple. Let's saturate it a little bit. Darken it a smidge. Merge the layers. Let's see how it looks with everything all together. Ooh, baby, I hate that. I mostly just hate the lighter shading here on the border, which actually I can fix that really easily. Bam. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's working for me. That's doing it. Honestly, the only part that I feel like I need to do now is the walls. Because I like the gray with the purple. I think it's looking really nice. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to grab just the wall parts, which is these corners here and this, and we're going to go through and we're going to see how we like. Because this is such a small amount of it, it's actually going to be easier for me to just grab the parts that I want to color than it is for me to grab the parts that I don't and delete them, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go through and we're going to just make sure that everything is grabbed, and we're going to go Control C, Control V. So now there is those isolated. And what we're going to do is we are going to another adjustment layer, colorize, and we are going to make them pretty grayscale. Let's not completely desaturate. Let's go for like because a lot of times lighter blue reads as sort of a gray. So let's remember these numbers, 21980. These are going to come in handy here in a second. Let's merge our layers and let's turn everything back on and take a look. Okay. Speaking of the border, we're going to now go through and we are going to remove, and that's border, not outline. We're going to go through and we are going to remove these windows and yeah, I guess the doors, whatever. Because I want to color the border just ever so slightly because I do want it to sort of match up a little bit more with the walls themselves. So this was 219 and this was 8, I believe. Merge layers. Now let's look at it all together. Let's see without the shifting of the border. Honestly, I think it looks better without changing the border color. It gives it a little bit of a difference. It could do ever so slightly with a little bit of desaturation. Okay, so there we go. We have a completed finished building. We could just call it square, call it done here, and move on. And we would have our own building, our own piece that is fairly unique within the larger process. But this isn't where we're going to stop because I want to add some modularity to this building. I want players to be able to take these buildings, and let's say we have, or not players, I want to take myself when I'm making the maps. If I have like a bunch of this same style building next to each other, I want buildings to be able to look different. So I'm going to go through and now I'm going to start chopping things up and start rearranging, start moving, start, putting things into place, start adding new pieces, and just, building out sort of, a modular building system. So I'm just going to kind of speed through that, and you're going to get to see sort of some of my thoughts and some of my ideas and see how I kind of just like build upon this. So yeah, let's just dive in. Okay, so I actually didn't do much because as I was sitting there trying to think of what I was going to do to change up these tiles to get like more pieces that you can make more modular parts out of, I realized that this building is constructed in such a way that it's actually really easy to move parts around and make basically all new building shapes out of it. So I don't even really have to do anything. What I did do is I did grab these air conditioner units from another building and I put them on top of a version of the roof tiles that, have air conditioning units. So that way you can, if you want air conditioners on one, you can absolutely have one of the buildings have air conditioner units and whatever. So yeah, there you go. That was pixel bashing. It's really not that difficult. It's not hard. It's actually a lot of fun. And with that, that's pixel bashing. If you do this enough, you'll pretty quickly have a pretty decent understanding of some of the basic fundamentals of pixel art. So this could be a great place to start with learning how to do scratch-made pieces. So maybe do this for a little while and then try your hand at it. I'll include a list down in the description below of pixel artists that I watch that I definitely think you should check out to try to learn from. There's some fantastic people down there, so, go ahead and watch their videos and subscribe to their channels and all that stuff. While you're at it, why don't you subscribe to this channel, like the video, and, leave a comment down below letting me know if you've made something cool via pixel bashing, and, maybe you could even share it with me. You can send me links to all my socials. I got BlueSky, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff, so go ahead and check me out over there. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.